Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel MindBuild77, and in this video I'm going to be interviewing a flat earther. So Godric is, I talked to him on one of Kick and Chicken's live streams debating the flat earth theory, but in this one I'm just going to be asking him questions and getting his opinions on the flat earth theory. So is there anything that you want to say, Godric, before we get going?
Hey, thank you, Liam. I appreciate the invite. Um, um, so we can talk about flat Earth. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So beforehand, before this interview, I sent him the questions, so I'm assuming that he has done some responses off video. So I have some of them here. So the first question that I have is, why is the flat Earth here, and why was it created?
Right. So I believe in the Almighty God. I think that the Earth is created specifically for mankind, and for womankind. And if I follow the Bible, if you read the Bible, it talks about how the earth is created by God, and He's given us dominion over the earth, over all the other animals, and I think that's important. So I think it's God's creation, basically, not a sciencey Big Bang explosion happening. Just what it says in the Bible.
Okay. So I heard you talking about stuff like this on Kicken's debates, of course. So the next questions that I have are, why would these fake planets be observable if they are fake?
Yeah. So when you get to the flat Earth, we discuss the surface of the Earth is flat. We don't have that. It generally starts from there, and then if you look at what we can prove, what we can measure, and decisively know, um, there's a problem with space. We don't believe there's space. Example, if there's a vacuum, it would just tear the atmosphere neatly off the Earth. Right? Think about think about a vacuum, and then think about air pressure inside. It wouldn't be able to stay there. So um, so space basically is out. Planets. Okay, so a couple things. The planets. First of all, we do see what we call wandering stars, which is what they used to be called. Planet is a newer word I think created afterwards recently, and we can see some, of these stars, Jupiter, Mars, for example, but they don't. But we don't believe they're terra firma. We think they're lights in the sky. Basically, they're like a projection similar to the sun, similar to the moon, though probably cast through a dome firmament, which is at some point above us, local, very local, like maybe this within a couple hundred miles, not thousands of miles or thousands of light years.
I heard 32 kilometers from another person.
Kilometer is more than. I'm sorry, I'm not good with kilometer. Is that more than a mile or less than a mile?
A mile is 1.6 kilometers. So yeah, kilometer is a shorter measure of distance.
It'd be like 80 miles. There could be something 80 miles up. I mean, that might be where, if you watch pictures taken in the sky, you can see clouds under the sun. I'm sorry, you can see clouds like over the sun. So it might be something like 80 miles. I can't say for sure, but we don't believe there's anything thousands of miles away. We think these are like projections. They're not physical, and they're within, let's say a couple hundred miles. I'm not going to be exact, but nothing like the moon being like 200,000 miles away. It's just ridiculous. You wouldn't be able to see it. And any common sense would tell you that if you, like, we have technology, like if you were going to guess that that was the case, these planets are real planets, that would be one thing. But we have technology now, and we have things like P900s. And if you take a P900, for example, you can actually zoom in on the moon, and you can see, details. And that wouldn't be possible, we don't think, if it was 200,000 miles away. It's more like I said, like within a couple hundred miles. And this is we think that this is all within like a dome type firmament, which is our like atmosphere, not in space. You'll never you'll never be able to prove space. I don't think you can.
Okay, so as always, if you have any pictures to show, please show them. So, do you believe that the void exists inside the sphere, or like what do you believe lies outside of the sphere covering the flat Earth?
Well, we don't know. That might be like beyond our existence. Yeah, we
Yeah.
think that the Earth is creation, like within this dome. Just like it says in the Bible, dome firmament, and the Earth is below on the surface. I couldn't tell you what's beyond that. We can't get there. Don't know.
Okay. Well.
However, the idea about space is that like what's like beyond space. So you can think of it like that, like what's beyond our existence. It's at some point, you know, does space end, and then after that, there's nothing. That would be the same thing. What's beyond the dome? What's beyond our existence?
Yeah. Well, I have my own unique view on because I'm not just lots of people believe in the Big Bang or whatever or observable universe stuff like that. I wouldn't really say that I believe in any of that either. Of course, I'm the one interviewing you, but I don't believe that there
You can
was a
tell
Big Bang.
us. I'd like to know what you believe or your idea of it.
Okay, well, I'm similar to you in that we don't really know that much, but I do not believe that there was a Big Bang because of the reason of if there was nothing there to begin with, why would this explosion happen? If they say that nothing was there before the Big Bang, how could the explosion happen? It doesn't make any sense. And where did this mass come from? It makes no sense. And then, so I tend to believe that, if it wasn't created, then it's always been here. There was never an end or a beginning to this universe, or at least as far as we know. But we don't really know that much because, again, according to the non-flat Earth theory, the Earth is a small, very small speck inside the whole universe. So how could we, with our current technology, know all the secrets to the universe? But with your theory about the flat Earth, it'd be you'd be able to prove a lot more points in that the universe, let's say, is a lot smaller. But I don't know what your take on that kind of stuff is.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said a lot smaller. Yeah, so we believe that the sun and the moon circle around the flat Earth in a very local way, let's say within a few hundred miles. And kind of what you said about the Big Bang, it is kind of nonsensical because if you have gravity, for example, just a scientific thing, you'd have to have so much mass at one point that
yeah, that's true.
it wouldn't be able to explode. It would just be like a black hole situation, like all the mass is there. If there's gravity, then you couldn't ever, it could never explode because it would be just so I guess dense. The science word for it. But that doesn't make sense to me. That everything was all in mass was in a little point and that it just somehow exploded.
Well,
It's just
this
a theory.
this kind of leads into the next question that I have is that what do you think gravity what? Let's not use the word gravity. Let's use why do you think everything falls towards the Earth? Do you think that because I hear that some people think that the flat Earth is continually it's like going upwards or something, being pulled upwards, and that's why things are pulled to the ground. I just want to know your opinion on that.
Yeah, so let me set you straight on that. Flat earthers don't think that the world goes upward. What that is a what we call controlled opposition. Okay, like Hitler said, the way you beat the opposition is to control the opposition. Right? So we believe that there's this thing called the Flat Earth Society. Okay, but we've never
Yeah, I
met
saw that.
anybody from there except maybe a few guys that say they drink beer and then they meet like at a meeting or whatever. But we believe the Flat Earth Society is a deliberate disinformation site. made by the CIA, which is to say that there is nobody from the Flat Society that will ever show up anywhere that you can contact. That's not like what we call like a shill. So all these flat earthers, this big movement that's happening, all these conventions of flat earth that are happening, all these videos online, none of them are from the Flat Earth Society. So we believe that's the CIA disinformation site. And what that is they create disinformation to where some stuff may make sense and some stuff doesn't make sense. For example, let's say that for the flat earth, they want to control that, right? So they make a disinformation site saying, hey, we're the Flat Earth Society. And then they'll say stuff like the earth goes up at whatever 9 meters per second. And that's why stuff falls down. So if I heard that anywhere, if I've seen that, that would right away throw me off, thinking that is stupid, because it is. And that would make me think that all flat earthers are stupid. And that's the kind of disinformation that they use to control, not only for the Flat Earth Society, but in all the media. They have different things like that where they're going to throw you off the trail to control what they're trying to control, which is to keep quiet is what they're trying to do. So we're not the Flat Earth Society. We don't think the earth moves up. And let me explain that. So something we were taught like in first or second grade, and you have to think that when a child hears something at first or second grade, they don't really question it. They just believe it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when they introduced this spinning globe ball, spinning like a toy. I remember they tell us we live on this thing. They tell us stuff like it's a good thing for gravity because we would just float off into space if there was no gravity. Just like nonsensical stuff like this that we believe right away. And then once they establish that, then they go into all other kind of what I call like scientism, which is like where science goes wrong. Like we believe that there's a corruption in the education and in science. Let's say like 90% is true and 10% is false. That the falsity is where they can control you. They can create a model like where they say you live, and you're going to believe it because they say it, not because it makes any sense. Okay, so let me cover gravity. So we don't think things fall down. For example, if you really think
Oh,
about
I
it,
heard you on Kicken's live stream or debate or whatever, saying that it's because of buoyancy. That's why things go up and down.
well, let me say it this way: if you really think about it, um, it's incorrect to say things fall down. Okay, what you need to say is like let's say I hand you a helium balloon, right? And you let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Which way is it going to go?
It's gonna go up.
Right? And like if I smoke my smoke from a cigar and I blow it, which way does the smoke go?
Up.
Right. So the correct thing to say is some things fall down or some things go up. So there's a light stuff that'll go up, smoke, clouds, helium, different things. Like if I poured a cup of water on the stone floor, 12 o'clock at noon, and let's say it was warm, 12 o'clock, and I come back in an hour, where's this water will have gone? Where would the water have gone? It would
Are you
have
asking?
evaporated. It would have evaporated. So if vibration goes up, so some things go up and some things go down. So there's not a downward bias. Does it make sense? It's even. It's perfectly balanced. Light stuff on top, heavy stuff on the bottom. And if we have that, we don't need gravity.
Well, what about in the human body? Because there's water inside the human body. Meanwhile, your heart is pumping water up into like the upper area of your body, and then also down into the lower area of your body. It doesn't like why would the water exist higher than where it should be below sea level?
And actually, it's a good proof for the flat Earth because if you have heart that's pumping like in a circulatory system, how does it pump back up? You know, you would have to really pull the blood back up from your feet, for example. You know, so um, back on your question, you have a circulatory system, and your heart pumps blood around your body back and forth, and it has like a muscle. It pushes. It has like a pressure, right? So it gets all the blood around.
Yeah, I know it's the
If
cardiovascular system, but
you cut your
why would that exist in the flat Earth model?
if you cut your finger, the blood would go where? Would it drip up or down? It would fall down.
Are you-
So the point is that you have dense things. So instead of gravity, because we think that's just an explanation. We don't believe in gravity per se. We don't think mass attracts mass. We can never show that. So we think that dense things will find a medium. Yes. So like you said, the water level, right? So yeah. So the blood would fall to the ground, or it would balance itself when it fell in a water type environment, because that blood is more dense, and the medium, which is the air, is thinner. That blood would drop down. Okay, until it found this medium, which is the floor or water. Okay, but like I said, if you release some smoke or some helium, notice it'll go up to the medium, because the smoke is less dense and the medium is more dense. It would push it up. So you have stuff going up and stuff going down, basically. Both.
So do you believe that the media or current day science and technologies is helping contribute to the flat Earth theory, or do you think that people are starting to turn away or turn towards believing in the flat Earth?
Well, the flat Earth movement is definitely growing, but it's so like entrenched in indoctrination, like when we were young, and it's so controlled by education and by the media that I think it just has like a stranglehold. It has a stranglehold on science. Do you hear me? Because this whole thing is based around basically a corrupt model, right? So they're going to make all the equations to make it sound like it's true, but when you question it, it's not. So basically, we're living like in a corrupt system, and that doesn't. It's not only for education or science. That's also for example, morality. You mentioned the Bible. Like, if you think about it, there's always been movements, or there's a movement now to do away with the Bible, to replace the Bible with science. It's like an attack on religion, right? It's like saying that God didn't create you, science created you. So
That's
don't
not true.
don't pray. Listen to your government. Listen to the media. Listen
You're
to
very
NASA.
cookie cutter right now. You believe that there's only two ways of thinking. You're either on the side of government and science, or you're on the side of non-government and flat Earth theory, or religion combined with flat Earth theory. Meanwhile, how you say that 90% of the science that we currently have is false, but it sounds like, according to the flat Earth theory, that it'd be a lot more than just 90%.
Some science is true, like stuff you can measure, prove,
But
demonstrate.
why
I
would you
think
say
my
that?
computer, I think my computer is working, and we're on both on computers, right? But when you start getting into stuff like evolution, Big Bang, gravity, round spinning balls and vacuums, then I think it goes takes a wrong turn, and we call it scientism. Not exactly 90%, 10%. It's just that's just an example. It's like a ratio. Like the way
Yes, I know,
you
but
can prove a lie, the way you can pass a lie by is to have some stuff of it true and some stuff false. Then you can pass that lie right, pull the wool over your eyes. Wouldn't even know. When you questioned it, they'd have answers like, "Oh, because Eratosthenes, certain people in the past have done this. Where people are smart, more smart than you are, so you don't have to question it." That's what happens. Basically, it's fail. It's a fallacy. Uh,
well,
appeal to authority fallacies.
I guess it's a different point of view, because you question one set of things, like Well, I'll leave it at that. And then I question a whole different side of things. So I wouldn't really say that it's a difference in intelligence. I don't really think that me and you have a different amount of brain neurons or anything, but I think it just we're different. We just have different opinions, really. It's not a question of who's who's smarter or who's more stupid. But I mean, like
You
for
don't
me,
think education? You don't think education um, is I want to say created or planned, but it's designed to pull you away from your spiritual self, to pull you away from God.
I'm sure that's what some people in there are. That's their goal, but I think that they have different. That's not their only goal, because lots of and I say that because lots of people now, as I'm sure you know, for the past 100, 150, 200 years have been turning away from the Bible. So
Yes, yes, I think it's agenda. Like, when's the last time your teacher told you to pray and to talk to God, which is what the Bible tells us. Check with God, check with the Creator. When is the last time that you've seen this in education?
well, there's still Catholic schools, but they're well, I'll just say a bit from myself. I've studied the Bible for a long time, 4 or 5 years. In depth, like as part of a curriculum. It was something that I did every day, and I have learned a lot from it, from many different scripts, like Thomas Aquinas. Throughout many, since 4000 BC up to now. So I've done a lot of research on that. But the thing that I have found is that people, as you say, they like to believe things from. Well, I'll just ask you this question first. Do you think that people like to just blindly believe with the education system instead of questioning it?
Well, I think it's designed that way. The education system in general, if you look at it in a nutshell, they don't do science, they don't do learning, but they have the
Mind
information.
control?
Yes, they have the information there for you, and they make you memorize it and regurgitate it. They don't
Yeah, but
ask you
then.
for any fancy advice. Or they don't ask you to determine it for yourself. So
Mhm.
there's a textbook that has all the information, and you're supposed to memorize it and regurgitate it, and that's the only way you're going to get an A. If you have your own unique answer, you're going to fail that particular test. They only want the answers that they're giving you in the book. This is, like, I would say 95% of education is designed that way. Not for you to discover it, not for you to learn it, not for you to question it. Am I right?
Well, I
Yes.
mean, I'm not a political channel or anything, but I don't want to say too much about specific
And if
topics. But
we did a laser test, let's say 21 miles, and we just determined that there's no curve in between point A and point B over 21 miles, it's just flat. And then we just put in a science test that the Earth is flat, the water is flat, we would fail that particular part. So we're not allowed to have our own unique answers that you've proven. You just have to tell the answer that they want. Just fill it in the blank. So I
I
think that what
remember
it is, I think, mass propaganda, mind control. Yes.
I remember on Kick and Chicken's live stream, you guys, well, many, many, many times when you were on there, and I was on there too a couple times, but you guys were talking about the laser test, and he was, I forget the scientific term that he used, but he apparently did, at least in his mind, debunk your laser test theory. Um, so do you have any response to him on that?
Yeah. Well, see, we're measuring distances, and we're determining that they're flat from point A to point B. We're taking the Earth curve calculator, which is a geometry, a mathematical formula, and where it's supposed to be curved with the Earth. But if the Earth were radius 3,959 miles, and double that to get the full thickness of the Earth, then you would have a curve of about 8 inches on the first mile, and then that's square to the mile. Next, the second mile would be 24 inches. The third mile would be 72 inches. 72 inches is enough to occlude a full, like the height of a man, 6 feet. Okay, but we're measuring these distances. We're not getting that, you know. And yes, the height does come into play. So if you take observer height, if you go higher, say than the ground level, you'll be able to see farther, be able to see more. So if you take that observer height, for example, of 5 feet, then you can see a bit farther. But still, if you do the Earth curve calculator measurements and use geometry, and I can send you a picture.
Please do.
I'll work on
You
that.
can put it up on the screen.
I don't have it handy in a second, but what I want to say is the Earth would be curving. There would be an occlusion between point A and point B, 222 feet at 5 feet observer height at over 21 miles. So we're catching the laser on the other side at 5 feet. So we basically determine there's no occlusion. Now, what Chick Chicken said, let me answer your question. What Chick Chicken said, he said refraction. Right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Light does refract. What generally happen is object increase or get wider, get taller, or you'll see like a shimmering, like the light will bend. But what we don't expect it to do is if you're between point A and point B, we don't expect it to bend around the curve perfectly. So you're bringing the level where it is up.
Well, it's
concentrated
light. It's not the same thing as normal light, and even
so we don't expect it to bend perfectly so you can see distant objects. We expect it to warp and get taller and wider, but not to raise up the distant picture. Raise it up so you can see it perfectly, as if it were flat, and that's what we're seeing. Okay, that was the answer to that.
Well, I'm sure you remember when we were on Kickin' Chicken's live stream. Or I think it was just you guys, but you guys were talking about Polaris and how, according to your theory, because of the way Polaris moves by the different points on the Earth, if you were to look up at Polaris at the same time, it would make all these complex angles because it wouldn't work because you'd be looking at a different spot. But in the spherical Earth theory, it all lines up. Remember we were doing that?
We did talk about Polaris. So Polaris is a great it's a great proof for a flat Earth because
why is that?
A globe Earth, because a globe Earth claims that it moves. We've not seen Polaris move in the 2,000 years we've been observing.
Well, we don't.
So
it doesn't move necessarily. Well, I suppose it's the Earth that's moving really. You should
look more into the globe Earth model. See, what we do, we take the globe Earth model, we debunk it, right? It's a flat Earth, and like Polaris is a big problem because we're supposed to be moving through space at 66,000 miles.
I heard 50,000.
66,000, but you can use 50,000 if you want. It's the same difference. It's
either way.
Ridiculous speeds. And we're not only that, we're turning around the sun, and we're also expanding from this great attractor. So if this were the case, we would never see stars in the same place. For example, if you study stars, they come around every year. They're in the same place as far as the equinoxes, and every night they're going to turn around and come basically in the same format. Once a day, there's a change once a day. And there's a change once a year, and it repeats in a cycle. So if we were expanding and twirling and moving at these breakneck speeds, we would never observe the same stars. It would be different locations.
Well,
they
no,
do
because
come around
that's
perfectly.
false because the Earth, 66, the Earth moving around the sun at 66,000 kilometers. Is it per hour?
I believe it's per hour.
Okay. Well, the thing is, like, the Earth according to the spherical Earth theory, the Earth's orbit around the sun is much, 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 much smaller than the orbit of Earth or the Sun around the galaxy. So it'd take a lot longer for the actual stars to move than Earth's orbit around the Sun. So, according to this theory, in 250 million years, when we 360 around the galaxy, the Sun, I mean, all the stars would be in different places because it takes that amount of time for everything to move around the galaxy because of, according to this theory, we live in a spiral galaxy.
Right. So you're kind of saying, in so many words, that we can't tell.
Not quite. I'm saying that because we have to take distance into account. And if you had
I mean,
a marble,
you can't tell a difference. You can't tell that we're spinning through space, that we're expanding. You can't tell a difference. You're saying you can tell a difference for 250,000 years.
no, I was saying that how the Earth's orbit around the Sun is much. It's Earth orbits the Sun in 365 days. Okay, how long it takes for a star to orbit the galaxy at around as far as the distance as our Sun is from the galaxy center, it take about 250 million years. So a year from now, that would only be 1 year less than 250 million. So that star would barely move. Meanwhile, the Earth would have made one full rotation around the
You're saying
Sun.
you can't tell. You're saying you can't tell. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell if there's stars out there moving or not.
No, not that either, because we have observed. Well, look at supernovas. Okay, so we have observed. I can pull something up on the screen, I think, but we have observed supernovas that have, back in the past. If you think that they're just these lights in the sky or whatever, we have things like nebulas and also new supernovas, because I think it's one every 100 years that one explodes or one goes supernova. So we have images of that. And also, according to the Big Bang Theory, everything's moving further apart, which I don't necessarily believe. But any opinions on that?
I agree with you on the Big Bang Theory. I don't think that's happening. It's just some sciencey way of trying to hide the God's creation. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to say, oh, it wasn't created by a skillful hand. It was created by science, by gravity and Big Bang explosions. Because if the Earth were flat with a local sun and moon spinning around it, not the other way around, where you have a ball spinning around the sun, but having a local sun and moon, which is much smaller than the Earth. By the way, it's not. We think it's probably around 70 miles distance across the sun and the moon, basically be the same size, spinning over a local flat surface Earth. Then, if that was the case, you'd have to throw out gravity. You have to throw out Big Bangs. You have to almost insert an intelligent designer, and that's why they hide the Father, because they're trying to get you away from your spiritual side to your physical side, so you can worship materialism. Then they can control you. They control us with a dead system.
Well, there was a point that I wanted to make earlier in the video, was that you were talking about how modern the school system, or just everything in general, is corrupt. And yes. You say, and I'm supposing that you believe that people should question things like why, like things like the flat Earth theory, things like spherical Earth theory. Is that true? Do you think that people should be questioning these things?
Question everything. Question everything you can.
Well,
your own goddamn brain. You don't need guys in white lab coats telling you this is true because we're smarter than you. You're going to believe us.
What if I were to tell you that you don't believe in that philosophy yourself, and I have proof of that?
If you want to do that, that's fine.
Okay, so would you say that you believe in the the Bible?
Are we coming into a debate now?
Well, for a few minutes we can. I mean, I want to go on with the question still, but
yes, I believe in the Bible. Yes.
Well, if you want to question everything, why don't you question the fact that your particular version or versions of the Bible could just be scribbled up by someone in a desert for, as you say, we don't really know, because we don't really know anything, because well, the Bible was written 2,000 years ago, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, some of the versions of the Bible. So how do you know that those words are valid?
The truth is, we don't know.
Well, then why do you believe it
We
so
don't
much?
know how if man can corrupt the Bible.
Well, because
I think the Bible
people
is God's
believe that
word.
people believe that the Bible has been used to also corrupt people in the past, but now that isn't working anymore. Like, people before in ancient times used to war over, the Protestants and the Catholics would war over just some subtle differences. They war over that. They'd also use it to control people in that they believe that they have to repent under this great creator, which makes them these good citizens. And meanwhile, as you just said now, we don't really know, and it could just be scribbled up by someone in a cave or someone, some priest that is corrupt and trying to control people.
I didn't say that. I said we don't know if man's corrupted the Bible. That doesn't mean it was scribbled up in a cave. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. It could be a priest in a church that's, corrupting the Bible, or someone in a cave with a pencil and pen, a monk even. We do not know.
If the Bible is good, if the information is relevant, it will.
How do you know the information is valid? I'll ask you that.
I'm asking you. I'm making a point. The
Okay.
information, if it's good, if it's relevant, it will propagate. That's what it's been doing for thousands of years.
Well, then
So
why
I
is
think
the
that I have a
spherical Earth
trust.
theory?
I have a trust in the Bible that it is true. That's my faith. It's not a scientific proof, I'm not sure that it's not 100% true. But the part that I think the part that we use for our everyday life, I think is pretty good. We can continue using it, and if you look at education and science, they are trying to replace the Bible with their science. That's what I see.
So, in other words, believe it because lots of people do, and it's been going around for a long time, so it must be true. But that's the same. That's the very
If it's not
same.
broken, don't fix it, basically.
Okay, well then you could say the same thing about the spherical Earth theory. That's been going around for many hundreds of years also. So just because that's been around for a long time and lots of people believe it, why isn't that one true?
I'm glad you said hundreds and not thousands. That's good. We agree. It is a new idea.
Yeah, because
it's not accepted by the ancient
why isn't it that
civilizations.
we
All
have
believed
made more
in a flat,
discoveries about the flat Earth
stationary
theory
Earth.
as opposed to a spherical? Because do you think that we have advanced in the last 100 years in terms of like technology?
Yes.
So then why wouldn't we be finding more things that would be evident to prove a flat Earth model as opposed to a spherical Earth model? Apart from the corruption.
Well, that's the thing. It's controlled. It's corrupt. There's leaders. There's people that write the textbooks that aren't you or me. And when we question it, they have an answer. They try to have an answer for everything. Like if it's a conspiracy, right? So, like if they want to kill somebody, they would cover it up. They'd throw pills on the floor. Look, he was depressed. He took pills. So they'd have their, all their the conspiracy would be wrapped up in this whole like delusion. So they would have answers to certain questions, but when we push them to a certain point, then we can call their bluff. Like for example, the Earth is measured flat. It's not curved from point A to point B. So what's happening? The only way you can see a curve is with NASA. We gotta have enough faith in NASA to tell us what the Earth looks like from space because we cannot go there ourselves. You have a lot of faith in these guys. Like, what if it's a lie? But the whole thing's a lie to keep us in this prison planet, stuck here. It's too expensive to leave. You're stuck here.
So instead
of all these other things, one second, and all these other things, you have to believe. Also, you have to believe. You can believe that they tell you live in a ball, even though we don't see a ball. We don't experience a ball. We don't experience the world spinning, for example. Right? So it's to deny our senses, right? Then they're going to tell you, education is true, that everything on the media is true, and you have to believe it, then they can tell you, hey, there's a water shortage. We got to charge more for water now. Water bill goes up. We have freshwater lakes. We have 5 lakes in the United States. How could there be a water shortage? They tell you, there's a gas shortage. Gas prices go up. This is all to keep you trapped in a slave-based system controlled by a ruler or a dictator type person. I can hear you type.
It's okay. I was just typing out a question. So instead of blindly believing in the media and NASA about the spherical Earth, why don't let's just blindly believe in kings and the Bible of ancient days?
That's how it was. It hasn't changed. What I'm telling you, in the feudal times, you'd have a king and a queen or rulers that would tell you what to do, and they made laws. You had to obey laws. That's the same thing's happening now. Nothing has changed. It's always a system where the rulers stay in power and they try to suppress and control the people. They don't want the people to rise up and question them because the whole thing is based on a lie. It's based on subversion.
The same thing like the Bible.
You mentioned the Bible. Let me, if you can, switch to the Bible. I think that I read the Bible growing up. I didn't know that it told you about flat Earth. But if you look at the Bible, if you look at the verses, there's 200 verses of how stationary immovable. Guess what?
Well,
wait. Guess how many verses talk about a spinning ball? None. Let me tell you.
Because it was created thousands of years ago.
Well, let's just be sure, because people think that it doesn't say it's flat. Genesis 2, the Spirit of God moved over the face of the waters. Now, the face they're describing a geometrical surface. Where is the face of a table? Where is the face of a building? It's describing a flat surface. They could have easily said over the curve of the waters. They could have said over the sphere. They didn't say that. Okay, that's one. Okay, another one in Job 38, it says, the earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Okay, you have the old Roman seal ring, signets, they press it down, the clay is flat, though it has indentations. We have indentations, valleys, and hills. The clay has indentations of the stamp, but it's flat. If you look at the flat Earth model, it's a southern ring of ice, and inside are all the continents. You're familiar with this model? You familiar with this picture? The one you showed on the thumbnail, actually. If that's
the one with
true,
Polaris?
with the star in the center?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one you showed me. So we believe in this. I think that's relatively accurate. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate. It's just a drawing. But if the continents are based in a circle, then it would be just like the signet ring that they're talking about, clay under a seal, the seal being circular. So think about these Bible verses if they're really true. Another one, it says that the earth is God's footstool. Now, have you ever seen a footstool that's not flat? If it was a basketball footstool, you would fall off of it. You couldn't use it at all. Now, you can say, oh, there's figurative language. But again, none will say a spinning ball. They're all talk about a flat, immovable surface.
That's outdated science.
Right. So here's the catch. You believe in science and not the Bible. When you question your faith a little bit. You believe in science and not the Bible because you're saying it's outdated. Is the Bible really outdated? Isn't it for generations?
Well,
Science will have you throw out your Bible and believe in Big Bang, Darwin, evolution.
Well, yes, many people would want that to be the case, yes.
And that
many,
way,
if not most people.
They can encourage you to murder your baby because they're gonna force debt on you and to make you think you don't have enough money to raise your child, so therefore abortion. But the Bible says,
I'm not going to answer anything about what we're talking about. I want to try and keep this on the flat Earth. So I want to hear the rest of what you're going to say, but I just do want to keep Sorry, I just do want to keep this on the flat Earth.
It's an attack on our morals, ethics. Before I formed in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So the God knows you. Yeah, He knows all of us. And the moment that they try to take that away from us, they got us controlled like lab rats. That's why.
Well, I
That's
mean,
what I think.
if you're so willing to question the modern day science about like a spherical Earth, among other sciences, why don't you question the origins of the Bible? And why do you believe this version as opposed to Chinese folktale?
You know what I think most, I'll just say most, because I don't know about Chinese folktale. Most countries
Well,
have
I
ancient
just mean any other
traditions
type of religion.
that are similar to our religion. Similar, there's good natured traditions. That's not kill, that's not steal. For example, that's not covet the neighbor's wife. Okay, consider this is not a court law; it's a biblical law. That should not covet the neighbor's wife. This is not a law that's in our current day society. So it's the Bible that protects your marriage. It's the Bible that teaches us what we can do and cannot do. And that's not a, like I said, it's not a court law. So I think that most all countries have religions that are technically good natured and good for to propagate through those generations. And we have this current day, modern day science, quote unquote, that is subverting our ethics and morals to believe in this materialistic life that you need money and you need to, and not God, not to pray. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, so you'd rather poverty.
Poverty.
Yeah.
So, do you
If
think
you're
we have
not
poverty?
if you're not
Do you think we have
materialistic,
poverty? Do you have poverty now?
what? Sorry, could you repeat that?
I think we have poverty right now.
Well, of course, but there's poverty right now. But America is built on. If it was really not so materialistic, America wouldn't be as successful as it's been.
Right.
So
I'd love to
America,
discuss that for
in your
you
words,
in
in
another
your words,
discussion.
Godric, in your words, America must be corrupt then, since you'd rather be in a country like China or something where it's more about just controlling people, or another country like that.
Unfortunately, I think all the countries are corrupt. Unfortunately, I don't think there's one country that is
You
really
must think
telling
that
you.
America is the most corrupt country then.
I don't say most corrupt. I wouldn't say that. I
But
say
it's
it's
the most
corrupt.
materialistic.
Is that true? I have no
Well,
idea if
yeah,
that's true.
it has the most wealth. People in the U.S. People move to the U.S. to try and gain wealth because they don't want to be living in poverty.
I say it has.
Their spiritual worship is not enough for them,
I'll agree with you. It has more. It's a freer business
which is not
environment.
good according to the
I,
Bible.
I, I, I didn't say that.
Well, then you're not a real Christian or whatever you
You're
want to call
you're
yourself.
you're you're um you're conflating poverty with
I'm just saying poverty is.
materialism.
I'm just
It's
using
not.
poverty as an example.
If you study Jesus, he gave the coin to the person. He gave the coin to the person who doubled his money, and not the person who buried the coin, not the person who spent the coin. He gave his money to the person who doubled the coin. So, industry, I think, is good.
Why is
It's
that?
the worship. It's the worship
Doesn't
of.
that pull people away from God and
If you have a
worshiping?
farm, you have goats, sheep. You got to take care of those goats. They produce milk. They produce wool. Okay, you can trade these or sell these to your local. This is back in the day. I'm just giving an example.
Mm-hmm.
And you can become, with hard work, you become a man of means. Like it says in the Bible, you know, you have more temptation as a rich man. You have more corruption. So that's the problem. So in a way, in a spiritual way, it's better to be poor because you don't have all those temptations. You can't, buy people, control things. I mean, like you can when you have money. So it could be corrupt. And I think America's corrupted. I think that there's a good way to do business. For example, paying people fair wages,
Well,
giving people
to
give
clarify,
people raises. Having a healthy God acknowledging the good Bible teachings in your business. I think that's a thing. And when you don't do that, I think is when it gets corrupt. When you're, you know, long hours with very little pay. Um, People are basically stuck working paycheck to paycheck. They're in debt. They're never going to get out.
so
They
then the
have they can't
taxpayers
leave their
should pay money
job.
to
They
these
have too
people,
many
right?
taxes. This is all the
Right?
problems.
Right?
Say it again.
So then the other taxpayers should pay money to this person, right?
What taxpayers?
Well, I'm not sure how if you make your own money, but taxpayers like the average citizen should then pay more taxes for people in poverty. Then you believe
Okay, I'm not sure where your
because
question is going. I'm not sure what you're saying.
because
You're
you
saying that.
said it's not good for people to work these long hours and to barely get a paycheck. So then the only other way is to either force this business to pay their employees more money by raising minimum wage, or to have it so that the taxpayers give that person more money.
No, not. I don't agree with either
Well, it
one.
could only work.
What I'm telling you is it's a corruption
The
from
only
the
other
top.
way is for this
Hang
person
on,
to quit
hang
that
on.
job and try to.
No, that's not true. Now you're that's a red herring. You're saying something that I don't believe is true. What I'm saying is it's a
What
corruption
don't you
from
believe
the
is true?
top. It's a corruption from the top. For example, Jeff Bezos is taking advantage of his employees. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so there's a way to run a fruitful, ethical business, and then there's a way to do it corruptly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
anybody pays taxes. I'm not saying anybody has to pay more taxes or less taxes, or anybody's going to force someone to do something. I'm saying that people, once you get money and power, it's easily be corrupted. And yes, the whole America's like that. Yes, most of them. I say 90%.
90%
And
what? Sorry,
I
I
say ninety
couldn't hear.
percent of it is corruption. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay. Well,
we both, I think, live in this environment, and to us, it's probably normal. You're kind of defending it, and that's okay. But what if you were to make your own business to where you were more fair to people? You gave everybody uh, everybody a pension. So if someone worked for you, when they left, they would get a pension. They would get um, Medicare. They would get medical benefits. Not anymore. They're cutting all the benefits. And there's no more pension anymore for workers.
well,
So
because they're running out of money.
so they say, or they get more greedy. I don't think Jeff Bezos is right.
No way. Well, of course, the people at the top are. I agree with you. People are, in your terms, greedy. But I mean, the reason why people aren't getting the pensions are going less and less, and the prices are going up. It's only because well, look at Venezuela inflation.
Right, there's a disparity between the rich and the poor. It's getting greater and greater, and that's how you control people at the bottom to have a wealthy dictator in charge. Many dictators in charge collectively, and then the people working for them like slaves, like it was in feudal systems. Yes, where they did have kings and queens. It hasn't really changed much.
Okay, well, I do agree with you on some of these points, but I would then like for this kind of stuff, I'd want for you to come on like economics discussion or something. But I do want to try to keep it on the flat Earth. So I have a couple more questions that I have because we're
And
almost at an hour.
before you do
So
that, I wanted to confirm that I'm showing you Bible verses that explain a flat Earth. I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you that, and none of them talk about a spinning ball. I want to just confirm that you've heard me. You've heard these verses,
I
right?
heard you speaking about this. Yes.
And you kind of said, and I want to catch you. For example, you're just kind of like arguing. You kind of said that it's outdated science. So that's your final answer.
What did I say is science?
That it's outdated science.
Well, I just meant that they didn't talk about a spherical Earth because they wouldn't have any technology to actually prove this. And as you
Okay.
said, as we're making more advances, why aren't we believing in the flat Earth then? Or why
but
aren't more
we
people
are.
believing in the flat?
We were given this corrupt model from NASA since 1959, which is really recently, actually. Nobody saw a picture of the Earth until 1959 or 60, whenever they went up in that Apollo mission. That's the first time they showed us pictures of this supposed Earth, right, the globe Earth. We think it's a very recent delusion, corruption.
Well, why did the corrupt? I'll say it in your. I won't. I don't want to talk about my opinions, but why would the corrupt government pick a spherical Earth to try and control people with, as opposed to maybe they wanted people to believe it was a cube or something? Why did they pick this specific model?
It's a spiritual attack. They're trying to replace your Bible, right, with the all powerful perfect government. There's
Yeah, they're
also
trying to replace the all-powerful government with, I guess, in your words, the all-powerful Bible.
independent people. They want to take away the
Well,
independence,
no,
take away the
because
freedoms.
because you don't believe in freedoms either, though. You have
I
to.
believe in freedoms. I believe in freedoms.
Well, then why do you believe that people should have to repent twice a week, or why do you believe that people should do daily prayers to repent for their sins that they have done? That's not really freedom either.
Freedom of religion, yes, it is. You can't. You can see. You're doing it. You're comparing God to the state. It's not a comparison. The
I
way
don't.
that we
I'm
teach
not
our
trying to.
Bible teaches, it teaches God, family, business in that order. Okay, the government doesn't come in there. That's freedom.
I don't care about the government. I'm not talking about the
And
government.
if
I couldn't care
you
less.
pray, and the freedom to choose where you work, where you live, right?
Are you asking me a question? Sorry.
I was saying you need freedom to choose where you want to work, where you want to live. That's what I'm saying. So I do believe in freedoms.
Yeah, but you just believe in a different oppressor.
So you think God is oppressive? Is that right?
Well, that's why it was originally created. Yes, the same. The same. I agree with
Okay.
you. It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same reasoning as what's going on now in many situations. Yes,
Okay. So let me
because
say
because
this.
because the people on top always want to have a way to control the people on the bottom. That's always been true.
I think the oppressor is not God. I think the oppressor is man. Okay. Once man gets in charge of something, they're going to corrupt it. Okay, that's just a fact. Now,
Because
yes,
we're selfish and wicked, right?
they can use the but. Well, you tell me. They can use the
No,
Bible.
no, you tell me. You're the one who
I'll
believes
tell you.
it.
I'll tell you if you listen. Listen. Why is it that we struggle with temptation every day? Why is it that there's a high road and a low road? Why is it that we fail morally all the time? Why is it that that's difficult? Why is it difficult to choose a moral life? Yes, we are. Uh, Man is wicked. We have to struggle and fight and make effort to be holy and moral and good. And without that effort, we will be thoroughly wicked. Yes.
Okay.
Give somebody money and power, and you'll see it happen. When I say that, in a sense, we are good natured people, but we have to work on that. We have to strengthen those morals. We have to fight oppressive evil. We have to be righteous. For example, that takes effort to stand up. That's what I'm saying. It's not like we're thoroughly evil, but the evil is there all the time, and our temptation is at our every turn. So we have
And
to pray.
our temptations are selfish, right?
I'd say a lot of them are selfish. Yeah,
So again, going back to
self-serving. Yes, we have
so
to
if
care for
everyone wasn't
others.
if everyone wasn't selfish, that'd also not work either.
Um, how so?
Okay, well, let's say if you're not selfish, you give someone $1,000 for no reason out of the goodness of your heart, because that's the kind of person that you are, because you're not selfish or self-loathing or whatever words you want to call it.
I wouldn't give him $1,000 because I don't think they can manage $1,000. I buy him a plate of food or buy him a shirt or some shoes.
I'm just using this as an
That makes
example.
more sense.
Okay, well
Hang on,
then
hang on.
could switch it. We could switch it to clothes then.
Buy him clothes, buy him some food, because $1,000 would probably buy drugs. That's why.
It doesn't matter. That's not a part of it. We could switch it to clothes if you want to, but if you give those clothes to a non-selfish person, that non-selfish person would want to give those clothes to someone who's less fortunate than them. Then that person would want to give it, since they're not selfish, they'd want to give it to someone else. And then everything would end up into a pile, since no one would want it, because everyone's not selfish. The only reason why you would give someone something and then they would keep that thing that you give them, as in clothes and food, is because they are selfish for their own needs.
I think you're getting somewhere. But I think we're getting off the flat earth.
Yeah, I would like to come with you on an interview about, or discussion about, economics or something like that, or what we're talking about now. But I do want to keep it on the flat earth. So like I said, I have a couple more questions and then we could wrap it up. So
Yes.
the next one is that why can people cross the Arctic, and come out the other side? Or do you believe that people can do this?
They can't. They've never done it. It's never happened, ever. I mean, let me explain. So you have this the flat Earth model, which is just a model. I'm not saying it's perfect, right? But you have continents in the center: Africa, North America, Canada. Then you come around. You have Japan and Asia and Europe, and then Africa beneath, and then you have Australia beneath that, though on the other side. So around that, you have the southern ice ring, which is a wall of ice. It's between 100 and 200 feet high. And guess what? I wasn't taught this in school. Probably weren't either. And this ice shelf per se, it cradles the world, holding the oceans in. Okay, this is the flat Earth, right? And in the center of this pond-like shaped Earth is the North Pole, and the North Pole you have to make north, right? So we're in the continents, let's say America or North America, Africa, wherever we are. Our compasses are going to point north, and we can circumnavigate the whole world. We go to all the continents. We can visit all the continents by traveling in a mild, very mild arc. If we're going east to west, the arc will veer right, right? And our compass is staying in the center. We can hop around all of the continents and come back to where we started by by um, by forming a mild arc. Now, I propose that millions and millions of people have done this all the time. This happens where you circumnavigate the world east to west or west to east. But nobody has circumnavigated the world south to north to south via landmass. For example, you'd have to start let's say in Chile or bottom of South America, and then go strictly south, crossing the South Pole, right, and then come back to the other side and end up, let's say, in Australia. That has never happened. I don't believe that can happen because I believe the Earth is shaped like a flat pond. And once you
So
go out south, it just goes on to no man's land. We haven't been there. We can't get there.
So if you, let's say, because you believe in the flat Earth theory, let's say if you were to go right to the edge, like if you were to go to the Arctic and then go right to the edge of it, would you, what would you see? You'd see it just ending, or would you see it slope down? And would you see a void?
There's no edge.
There's no, sorry?
There's no edge. For the record, there's no edge. There's no edge of the flat Earth.
Because it's a sphere, or because it doesn't make sense for it to be flat?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. See, now you're
If you have
starting to think.
if you have a plate, a plate has an edge.
That's the thing. See, this is where the CIA,
the corrupt,
comes in. They've given you pictures of plates of discs. Back in the second grade, they showed us a picture.
But this is not logical, though, for you to believe that a plate has no edges.
Hang on. Back in the second grade, they showed us a picture. They told us about Columbus, that he discovered the New World. they showed us a picture of a flat ocean, and then the boats going off this supposed edge of the ocean. And they told us at that point, you must be stupid if you think that the Earth is flat. They used to think the Earth is flat back in the day. You must be stupid because like the ships will go off the edge, and that's never happened. So here's where the deliberate misinformation comes in. They're inserting that idea so you'll think the flat Earth is stupid. Okay, no flat
that
earther
wasn't my
thinks that there's
question,
an
though.
edge. No flat earther thinks that there's an edge. It's just an endless expanse of a plane. We live in this center we call a pond with all the oceans and the continents are. And the edge that we know, the edge of that we've got to is the southern ring. We don't know what's beyond there.
So
We
then
can't
you
say
do
there's
not.
ever an edge.
So you do not
So
believe that there is a dome over the Earth, which is the atmosphere, then.
I believe there's a firmament. I don't know where it ends, where it starts.
But you
I
must
can't
know
get there. I
that
can't prove it.
you
Can't get
must know
there.
that a dome, it's going to land somewhere at the edges. So where do those edges land?
That's a theory. That's a theory. I've seen paintings of domes. Have you? I've seen paintings of domes landing like on the earth, and then some guy sticking his hand out. This is like a painting back in I don't know, it's an old painting, but these are just ideas. We don't know. So here's the thing: the flat Earth can say we don't know. We're not gonna make up shit. Like science makes up shit. I think. So we're just saying we don't know. It's indefinite. It could go on indefinitely. We don't know. And I don't say that there's an
Why
edge.
doesn't someone go there and
There's
see?
nothing beneath. There's nothing beneath. You can't say this. We don't know what's beneath.
Why doesn't someone go there and see?
Well, I think that the military, who would have the power to do that? The military, with those helicopters and endless fuel and endless equipment.
It's nonsense that no one
I think
has
that
in the whole history
I think
of the
that the
world has ever
military.
gone to the edge and seen this plane go on and on. It makes no sense that no one would be able to get there.
I think the military knows, and
There was no
that is what
military.
you call. What is
1,000 years ago, there was no military.
what is top secret?
1,000 years ago, there was no military.
What is top secret?
1,000 years ago, there was no military. So how can you use this argument to
What does it
support
mean?
why can't
What
people
does it
get to
mean?
the edge and look what's
What is
beyond
it?
it?
What does it mean classified?
What do you? I don't know
Only
what
the
you mean.
higher ups know. We don't know. Okay, so
Then
you
why don't
said
we
a
go
thousand
find
years
out?
ago. Okay, so there
Why don't
have
we
been
go find out?
explorers. There have been explorers before the military. Quote unquote. Captain Cook took 3 years to circumnavigate the globe. The globe. I'm saying globe. So now you got me saying globe. Circumnavigate the world. That when I was taught by Captain Cook, it was a globe. But now I'm going to say the world, right? It took him 3 years to get around the southern ring, okay? Which would mean it would be a tremendous expanse around all the oceans and around all the continents. But they'll tell you the south. They'll tell you the South Pole is only 14,000 miles around. So here's the disparity. Either it's 14,000 miles or it's more like 67,000 miles around. We're not sure, right? But I'll say that I believe that you can't get around the ring. Let's say without traveling 60 or 70,000 miles. So that's a lot. Either it's 14,000 miles or it's 60, 70,000 miles. You have to climb 100-foot ice shelf, and then you're gonna face freezing temperatures, and then so
Doesn't
what we
matter
know
if
is,
we can
hang on,
ourselves physically get there. It matters about the theory and what would you see if you were at the edge?
you're changing your question. I'm answering you what happened 1,000 years ago. People weren't able to climb ice shelves and trek into the ice. They'd be crazy to do that, and if they did that, they'd probably die. Which is what Robert Falcon Scott did. Robert Falcon Scott. I'm sorry.
Well, we have airplanes now.
There's an ancient explorer, Scott. Okay, he took his whole experienced crew exploring the South Pole, and guess what? He died. All right. So
Yeah, I know about that.
and this is about 1908. So this is
Yep,
before.
that sounds
This is
right.
what happened before the government can keep him out. Okay. So the government keep him
I think
out.
it was a
He went in
long
there
time
and
before
died.
that. Long time.
What was a long time before that?
You
So
said
no ancient people could do that. and live. So that's what happened. They would just stop there eventually because they would end up probably dying. Did you know that there's no beyond the ice shelf? There's no natural. There's no animal life. There's no plant life. Did you know that? The only continent where there's no animal or plant
That's
life
false.
is
There
the
are
South
plant life
Pole.
there.
There's not. I'm going to say your information is false.
And I'm
You
going to
have
say your
to
information
really
is
look
false.
into it. You have to
Same
really
thing.
look into it.
That's not proving anything. There's two flowering types of plants there, along with some grasses in the warmer months, and there's also penguins that live there. And
Penguins live on the outskirts of the shelf. There are penguins, emperor penguins, and they live
yes,
on
and
what you call the
the
feet.
flowers, they do live on the outside because that's the warmest part.
But they don't get up and pass into the ice shelf. No plants, no animals. I'm gonna just put that on record. We can look into it. We can both look into it. Okay. Next question.
Okay, well, next one is that if you were going on, I'm gonna start it out like this. Do you believe that on the flat Earth plane, do you believe that it's to the left there is America, and to the right there's the Afro-Eurasia, or do you believe that it's first Afro-Eurasia, then America?
Oh, just look at the model. Just look at the thumbnail you had. That's pretty.
I'll pull that up.
Yeah. Can you show it to me?
Hold on, I'm just gonna pull it up on the screen. Here it is. And
Do I have to press video or something?
well, it just I'm not able to show it on the actual screen, but if you're watching the stream back or the video back, you'll be able to see it. But I'm showing the image with a Polaris, like the flat Earth image.
Okay, before you go on, pull up answer the question. But the Earth
Are you cutting out?
is wrong only because we think it's local. It's not high. It's not tall. In other words.
Well, the question that I was going to get
Okay.
into.
I have the map up. They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So if you're in America, which way do you want to go?
Well, the point that I was going to make is that if you are at the let's say Australia and you wanted to fly to the tip of South America, okay? So it looks like it would take a lot greater distance to get from Sydney, Australia, let's say, all the way around to the tip of South America.
Before you go on, let me answer your question. If you were in Australia and wanted to go to Chile, which is in South America, what you should do is cross over the South Pole, because that would be a quick hop, skip, and a jump.
But that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Nobody does that.
Why not? Why not? Why can't you fly over the South Pole from Australia to on the globe? But that would be the shortest distance, would it not? Here's where the globe model fails. Here's where Flied
Okay, tell me.
prove a flat Earth. Take a globe, look at Australia, look at South America. They're pretty close distance. But you can't fly over there, can you? You have to go via ocean. Why would that happen? Why do you got to go the longer way? That makes no sense. Chase more gas. What's safer, flying over a flat, flying over ice, or flying over the ocean? You know, it's 3 times the distance over the ocean than it is over the landmass. But then nobody ever flies over the South Pole. Interesting. There's something.
No one would ever want to fly over the South or North Pole, though. You have to take that into account also.
I've heard that too. I've heard that a lot. It'd be dangerous if you crashed. You'd be lost. They would catch you.
No, well, actually, the airplanes are the safest form of transportation.
Right, I heard that too. So, question for you after this video is finished. Go find out why you can't cross over the South Pole from Australia to Chile, because it's just straight across. It take any globe, but instead they'll fly over the ocean. The reason they do that is because guess what? You can't fly south and end up north all of a sudden. When you go south on a flat plane, it just goes out into no man's land. It's not going to ever bring you back So the
Has
side
everyone has anyone ever proven this? Like, has anyone ever taken a plane and flown directly into the South Pole?
this goes back to what I said. Only the military has a capability of doing that, and
Okay,
we
so
have
let's say the
one.
military.
Wait. We
It
have
doesn't matter whether
one.
it's the military or a private jet.
It
It
does
doesn't
matter.
matter.
It
No,
does matter
because the theory would still be the same. If they were flying towards the South Pole, what would they see?
because we'd have to be able to either trust them that they're lying or not. That's why it matters. So
But that's not part of
back
my
to my
point.
point. Admiral Byrd is the only person who has supposedly flew south over the ice ring, and he claimed to find another land untouched by man, untapped, untouched, filled with resources. That's what he said in the interview on TV. And that, by the way, he died a year after that, and the TV show was canceled right away once he said that. So I will, if you haven't heard that little caption, I will send you Admiral Byrd interview on television, which happened, I'm going to say 1950, the 50s.
Well, please do, and I will gladly look into why you can't pass over the South Pole. I will gladly look at that, do some research on that. But I have one last question
Yes.
before we close out the video.
Yes.
So I'm not really sure how to put this, but when I was on my DMs, as the viewers can see on the screen right now, I saw that you were playing EVE Online, which is a game using spherical planets and about the universe in a spherical model. So why would you play a game that, as Kick and Chicken said, indoctrinates people?
Yeah, it's just, people play games for fun. I don't think there's space.
Why would you Why would
I
you
don't
give money
think-
to something that is, brainwashing people? Why would you want to associate with them? Because for me, I wouldn't want to do that.
I'm a stock market guy. So actually, the reason I play is because they have to me, it's like a player controlled economy. I guess what is it? So that's why I was interested in that, because it's like a player owned economy where you can buy and sell stuff. So I'm not trying to um, look at the planets. They have space and planets. I'm looking at the player owned economy. And I do like games. I'm sort of like a gamer.
Okay.
So, but I don't prescribe to a space model. I just think it's just a fun game to play. That's all. I don't pay it money. So I'm able to create these resources in the game just for fun and pay my monthly bill that way.
Would you want to?
They use.
Have you ever thought of convincing or the people inside of EVE Online or playing it, or people who created the game? Would you ever want to try to convince them that their game is corrupt and brainwashing people?
It's kind of like having a discussion with yourself or anywhere else. Basically, they basically think you're crazy. You must be crazy.
Yeah, but I would. If I was you, I'd still.
It's the same kind of thing.
Whether they think you're crazy or not, if you think that your idea is valid, go for it. Doesn't matter what they.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. I'll think about that. And thanks for the time to come on here. And just coming on here, I feel like I kind of made my points. And maybe someone will hear and listen, and maybe someone will look into it. And I think that's a good thing.
I hope so too.
Always question science. Always question reality.
Always question the Bible.
You can question, of course, you question the Bible too. Of course, every day. Question all things.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched this, and please leave your comments about anything that we talked about, and leave a timestamp so that we could go check it out. And I think Nagel has joined the live Discord chat. So hello to you. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really appreciative of Godric for coming on to this video with me, and I hope that we could do some more in the future. But thank you guys so much for watching.
I'll be happy to come back and do more. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.